Thank you for joining CU Bands and Fans podcast. Our podcast is brought to you by Homegrown KIO. Homegrown KIO is on Sunday nights at 7 p.m. It is a stellar show featuring the great songs that have come from bands originating in Champaign-Urbana. Listen at 107.9 on your FM dial, at 1079wkio.com, or ask Alexa to play WKIO. Hey everyone, it's Terry with CU Bands and Fans, and this is our Podcast Tuesday. Can you give a shout out there, Zach?
Hello.
Our guest on our podcast today is Jeremy Harper. Jeremy is a most beloved, well-known musician in Champaign-Urbana who is currently residing in Florida. Jeremy is a guitarist, an incredible musician. He was the band director at FirstGig Rock and Roll Camp, event organizer for CU Bands and Fans, which he did that every year that we had our great events annually, and he did a fantastic job for us, and we have always appreciated you, Jeremy. You've been a friend to us from the beginning. He's a great friend to many. The bands that Jeremy has been in is Reckless Whiskey. He's guitarist for Red Hot Winter every year. Steve Rodman Music, El Guapo, Johnny May, Radio 6, Renegade, Scathe, and Omni. Hi, Jeremy.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks so much for having me.
Did we miss any bands?
I probably, but
It sounded like you covered it pretty well to me.
I was going to say that sounds pretty thorough. I'm sure
well,
there's maybe a couple in there that we missed, but that's a pretty good overview.
Yeah. You're in Florida now. You moved to Florida when?
I moved basically towards the end of September of 2021. So I had come down for 3 months over the winter of 2021 to check everything out. And as you know, our good friend Andy Morellian, Andy Mo, moved to Naples in July of 2020, I believe. And he started calling me and just like going on and on about how great the scene was here, and got to come check it out. So I thought, especially it was over the winter, like I said, of 2021, and we were going through the second series of lockdowns, and I guess I just felt like I didn't really have much to lose. Might as well check it out. Came down for those 3 months, and I loved it. And there's just a ton of opportunity here. It's just it's kind of its own world down here, and there's good and bad, but on a music scene sense, there's just so much happening here. Thought I got to give it a shot. So anyways, yeah, I moved down full time, I guess you'd say, like towards the end of September of last year.
And so, and we still follow you, obviously, because you're still a good friend. You're still a great part of this music community, even though you're in Florida. And you've always been a huge part of this. But Andy Mo, when he moved, we did notice just kind of an escalating in gigs and playing that he was doing. It was quite often, and it's wonderful to see that. Where we were still, very kind of dead in the water because of COVID. So then when you moved down, we're following you and we're seeing, you're getting all these gigs and you're actually pretty busy in Florida.
Yeah. I've been
so the music scene there is pretty active, and have you connected with a lot and networked a lot with the musicians?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that was, right out of the gates. That was the first thing, it was like, to me, I know a lot of people that would maybe, hit the ground and, just start hitting clubs and cold calling and, and not to say that that's, that doesn't work, but I've always felt like, it's better to, kind of immerse yourself in the scene. Who are the people that make the scene? Who are the people that, the movers and the shakers of that community? And so I got really lucky, and pretty much right out of the gates, I met through a really good buddy of mine, this guy named Josh Noland. He had brought me around. I think I wasn't even here 2 weeks, and this was over the winter when I came to check everything out. And he brought me around on a Sunday afternoon, and we went to, I don't know, probably a dozen places, and there were certain people playing at each of these places that he wanted to introduce me to. And so right out of the gates, like after having been introduced by him to these musicians, it kind of got my foot right in the door. And like even in those first 3 months when I was here, I was working a lot. And and once I got back down here, and people knew that I was actually here, I was going to be here. It's just gotten busier.
Yeah, so you're really hopping in, which is fantastic. We're so happy for you. And you were busy here. I mean, in this music scene, outside of COVID, you were pretty much kind of everywhere. But I want to talk to you about something specific before we get into FirstGig and the bands that you've played and all of that.
Sure.
And that is something called, what does it mean to you if I say you have to pay your dues? What does that mean to you?
A lot of things. It's kind of the cornerstone of growth, in a sense. I mean, whatever it is that you do in life, you have to quote unquote pay your dues. You have to put in the work. You have to go in. You have to learn what you don't know, and you have to grow as a person, and in order to become paying your dues. I mean, in a musical sense, of course, just getting out there and being the streets, putting yourself out there, getting exposure for yourself, learning the hard lessons that you only learn through experience, and taking that knowledge and hopefully moving forward, in a more directed, more well-educated way,
Yeah, I love that, because I remember us having a conversation about that years ago, and that always stuck with me, because I do watch some musicians, their expectation is they don't expect to pay their dues, I guess is how I want to put it. They expect to already be, at a certain level, out the gate. And it really, in real life, it doesn't work that way. I know that when you began in this music scene here, which was how long ago, Jeremy? Did you move here? Because you came from, originally, where are you from?
I'm from Effingham, Illinois, about 70 miles south on 57 from Champaign.
So you moved here how long ago, and then began kind of.
So Champaign, I moved to Champaign. I guess it would have been 1999 when I moved there. And,
wow.
Yeah, it was, Champaign was, I remember just being I was blown away by Champaign. I loved it. I mean, coming from Effingham, in particular, and don't get me wrong, I love my hometown. I love a lot of people there, but there weren't a lot of musical opportunities, per se. And when I first moved to Champaign in '99, I mean, it blew my mind that like I could go see a band on a Monday or a Tuesday night, like a really good band, and there's a bunch of people out supporting that band, and it was just the music scene in Champaign was so vibrant, and still is. Not to take anything away, but
but it's not as vibrant as it was.
But it was, oh my gosh, when I first moved there, I mean, it was, again, for, like coming from where I came from, it was night and day in terms of, just the sheer amount of musicians, like great musicians that were in town, and the number of places that facilitated, the scene, and, giving a spotlight to all these people. And it was just, it was great. I loved Champaign, like, almost, immediately.
And you
Obviously, I
connected with,
lived there my whole adult life, it's a,
yeah. And then when did you connect with like musicians that had already kind of paid their dues and was really, pretty stable in their gigs? How did that happen? Because you connected with some pretty predominant, extremely talented musicians.
I mean, for me, it was one of the very first gigs I got was at a house party. At that, that I can't actually even go detail on it. But it was.
I know, that's why I started laughing, because I'm like, oh, I bet that's a story.
It is, and I'll tell you about it sometime.
Okay.
But it was, through that I met a couple other. That's where I met Drew Duncanson and the guys from Kilborn.
Oh, wow.
That same house party in 2000, I guess it would have been.
So see, you met some immediately. I mean, Drew Duncan, my God.
Yeah. I mean, dude, some of those, I think a couple of those guys were still in high school when I met them. Yeah.
1999, that's about right. Yeah.
I remember seeing, I couldn't believe it, man. I was, I remember, they played right after I just did a little acoustic thing. And it was great. Everybody, loved it. It was fun and all that. But, then Kilborn Alley gets up there and it's like, whoa, like, these guys are, I mean, I swear to God, when I was like kind of in the back room when they started playing, and I just remember thinking, let's put it this way, like when I walked into the room and saw who was playing the music I was hearing, I almost had to slap myself. I was like, what is going on here? Like all these, like, like these late teen, early 20, guys that are, man, that are just
Unbelievable.
just unbelievable, and we've been friends ever since. Kilborn Alley were some of the few first musicians I met.
I never knew that about you.
Which was, really fortunate. And I love all those guys, and they've done nothing but get more amazing, throughout the years.
Yeah, they're pretty extremely. I mean, good God, we're
they're
so
incredible.
blessed. Yeah, we're so blessed to have them here.
They're an absolute gem of the CU scene, without about it.
Yeah, and I wonder a lot of times if people really fully realize that haven't seen Kilborn Alley. It's like, do you fully realize what this band is? I mean, I don't think they do. They've recorded numerous times. They've traveled the world. They've toured. We're lucky. We are so lucky. So for that to be a door opener for you to meet those guys like early on, that's crazy amazing. You're pretty lucky.
Oh, I would totally agree. But honestly, Terry, I mean, it was just a matter of, you hit the streets and you meet people and you get your foot in the door and you gain people's trust and you show that, you show what you got, and you develop relationships, and it took a long time, but I was a kid. I was learning everything, I didn't know what I was doing. I still don't know what I'm doing, but
you baloney.
I got a little bit more of it figured out. But
I really appreciate you answering that question. We're talking a lot about that amongst ourselves, not on our podcast. Some of it on our podcast, but mostly amongst ourselves with several musicians. And I always remember that conversation we had when you said you got to pay your dues, and then you told me how about you beginning and all of that, and I was just like, that's so important. And I think it's so important for these young musicians to know that, which I'm sure is what makes you a really great FirstGig rock and roll camp organizer, director, and all of that, because that you absolutely know that to be the truth. So let's move into FirstGig rock and roll camp. That's something you've been a part of for how long?
So the first camp was in 2012, and I was asked to come in as a guitar instructor for the first camp. It was, if I remember correctly, it was Andy Morellian and I'm pretty sure Aaron Boslog that were the first two original band directors. So there were two bands in that first camp. And I was brought in as a guest instructor. And then I was asked after that camp, I was asked to come in as a band director and oversee one of the bands. And I've done that ever since. So I've been involved in, this will be the 11th year.
Yeah.
This coming.
Because we started in 2012 too. I guess I didn't realize FirstGig was new
That's
then.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, which is really FirstGig Rock and Roll Camp is such a tremendous organization and camp for kids. And what's the age group, Jeremy? Do you know the age
Yeah.
group? Is there a limit?
It's so you age out at 17. So once you're 18, if you're 18, before the camp starts, you're ineligible. So there is a strict cap on age that way, but it's supposed to be 10 to 17. But we do have and do accept students younger than that on a case by case basis.
Oh, okay. And you are coming back this year,
Absolutely. Yeah.
which is in June.
Yeah. The first camp is the 6th through the 11th.
Through the 11th. Yeah, June 6th through the
Yeah,
11th.
I think I saw 6 through 11 or 6 through 12, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The final.
And
the
you're
final
what?
would be the Saturday, the 11th.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is your greatest? What has been your greatest joy of doing that? What's the most satisfaction you get out of doing that?
Uh, there's so many things, and that's incredibly difficult to nail down to uh, one thing or another. But I guess it would more times than not. It's the final show. It's seeing the culmination of the entire works. I'm sorry, the entire week's hard work, and like seeing because it's a really intense program. I mean, in the most fun way
In a
possible.
short period of time.
But yeah, I mean, you're getting a group of kids together that, in 5 days, you have to have them ready to go on a stage and put on a performance. And not only do they do that, but as you've seen many times, they just kill.
They kill.
imagine-
That takes a lot of work.
I
So
imagine you see a lot of change in those people over that week's time.
Oh, it's incredible, Zach. Yeah, man. You do, particularly, with kids that, I guess it kind of amplifies, the more we got kids that have been there for many years at this point, and they start taking on roles, more kind of actually like counselor roles and more, they take on kind of a leadership position, with the camp but a kid that's never done it before that comes in and goes through the program for the first time, seeing what happens in that 1 week is pretty astounding. Yeah.
That's what I was going to ask you. So, what do a lot of these kids know? Do they know very little about music? Do they know nothing about music, or do they know something about music?
Well, I mean, it
Or all three?
runs. It runs the entire spectrum of that, right? I mean, we've had kids that have literally never played a note on guitar before that, sure enough, at the end of the week are up on stage holding their own, playing the guitar. And, and then we've got kids that, have been through the camps that are 17 years old that are killer players, and so, yeah, I mean, there's a very wide spectrum of, experience and talent.
Yeah, it really is an incredible thing, and to watch experienced musicians teach and these kids how to be a band, how to write music, how to play music, and how to form together and perform at the end of 5 days, that's crazy. That needs to be almost just like, kind of a, I mean, that's it. Again, we're so lucky that we have that kind of a thing. And we're lucky and blessed that you guys, musicians, are willing to do this, to take time out and to invest in these kids and invest in this FirstGig Rock and Roll Camp, which has expanded to Decatur, Danville, Parkland, I think, is their first one coming up.
Yes.
And then Bloomington is in the works, correct?
So it is, yeah, to the best of my understanding, that's still in the works, and that's really all I know about it at this point.
Yeah. So who began this? Was it Guido or was it
It was well, so it was Peter Blackman.
Peter Blackman? Okay.
He had the concept, and he contacted Guido, and late night, famously now, there's a late night phone call from Pete to Guido, and like, I guess crazy idea, and FirstGig was born with that phone call. So yeah, it was its very roots. Yeah, it was Peter and Guido.
Yeah.
And then of
Yeah,
course,
it's an amazing.
and yeah, everybody else, but particularly Tom Grassman, Jeff Markland, Amy Mitchell, myself, Andy Morel,
yeah.
and they kind of became, kind of the core of it. But yeah, at its genesis, it was Peter and Guido.
Yeah, which is just, it's wonderful. We're very, very grateful for it, and we hope to continue to get the word out about it this summer.
Oh my
And
gosh, both of those guys are such assets, to Central Illinois at large. They really are. I know I'm biased. They're my boys, but they do. They do.
Oh, they are. Yeah.
The music community in Central Illinois, and just I got to shout them out every chance I can get.
Yeah, and we should, because talk about paying their dues. They've done that, and then they've given back, and they continue to give back, and that's what it really is all about. So, Jeremy, let's talk about some of the bands that you have played in. What was your first band that you played in?
It's called Axe Mastics.
What?
Back in 1993. And yeah, it was a band I formed with some buddies of mine that I grew up with in Effingham, and we were.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. And
what kind of music did you play?
It was mostly metal, heavy metal. Yeah, we were doing Metallica and Tool and all that fun stuff, Sepultura and.
And where did you guys practice at? Did you practice?
Oh yeah, all the time. We had my good friend Jason Kitterman. We practiced in his basement, and
I love that.
Yeah, at least a couple of times a week, and we wound up playing, I think, like 2 or 3 shows before we broke up. We practiced a lot more than we played out, I'll tell you that.
What was the breakup about?
It was mostly difference in how seriously we wanted to take it.
Yeah, that's a reason to break up. Mm-hmm. I can see that. Especially because how old were you?
14.
Oh my God.
I think when we joined, when we formed that band, I guess I would have been 14. Yeah, it was the summer before my freshman year in high school.
So when you say you played some gigs, where did you play?
Oh, a couple. We had a couple of house parties. We played. We had there was a talent show at the high school that we signed up for, but didn't wind up playing. We didn't make it that far, but it was. Oh gosh, I think we had a. There was something else we did. I forget now what it was. Some parking lot party that they gave us a little, like, I think it was like a 20-minute time slot on, and but yeah, we literally did I think 3 gigs.
Oh, that is so great.
But it was a great, it was a great learning experience, and yeah, you got to
Yeah,
start somewhere,
do you have any pictures of that?
I don't honestly, Terry, great question. I don't know.
I would
I'm
love
not
to see
sure.
pictures of that.
There's gotta be some
Oh yeah,
around. I
yeah.
just don't know where they would be.
Some Polaroids. Oh my God. Okay.
It probably would be. It'd probably be a
Who's your
Polaroid.
next band after that?
Let's see. Throughout, I did a couple of we honestly had some projects we didn't even have names for. Again, just through high school. Um, but that was like, most of those years I was locked away in my room, just practicing and trying to get better. Um, and the band thing, I didn't really get involved in another band until I was in my early 20s. In any real,
Yeah,
kind of.
real. Yeah. So, and was that in Effingham or was that until you moved here?
That was Champaign.
Okay, and what band was that? Like when were you in? Was there a band before? Was Scathe before Omni?
No. But yes, I'm sorry. Yes, it was.
And who was in Scathe?
So Scathe started out as myself, Jason Kitterman, the same guy I was telling you about who I started the band with in Effingham, my first band. He was a drummer. And then it was Jason Beck and Josh Dodson and Bryce Johnson from Third Stone.
Oh wow. Yeah. And
And
how long did that band?
that band we formed in 2009, I think, or late 2008. I know we released that demo EP in 2009. So yeah, I guess it would have been late 2008.
Oh, so
And
you have a demo EP from that.
yeah, it was called Unsanctioned. And then we wound up doing we put out that album, we played a bunch of shows, and but then the band, there were differences, and a couple of members left, and it wound up being a new lineup, which was still myself and Bryce, but with Joe Funderburk and Josh still on bass as well.
Huh. And then Omni?
So yeah, Omni was formed. Gosh, I can't. I want to say like 2011. So yeah,
Yeah,
Omni
because
was.
I remember Omni when we started, and we started in 2012.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
we started. That was one of those. Omni was formed basically. It was kind of a weird way it all came together. We had Chuck and Chad, Chuck Appleby and Chad Schwenk, myself, were the core band for 17 Sisters.
that's right.
But
17.
we decided that we wanted to, do some different stuff, as a band with Andy as a lead singer. And that's where Omni was born. And then Omni wound up becoming Johnny May.
Oh,
Yeah,
I never knew that.
So it was, that was kind of all three of those bands were interrelated as far as the core members and kind of how they came to be.
That is wild. I never knew that. Omni, what's I going to say about Omni? I loved you guys. I loved Omni.
That was such a fun band,
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
And yeah, really, really great shows. I mean, I remember is I came to you guys and or you guys had me do some band photos. And
Oh yeah,
I think it was Andy's basement.
it was. Yeah.
Band photo. Oh my God, good times. So Omni transformed into Johnny May, which was named after Rod Sickler's mom.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. And that lasted, and did that transform into Radio 6?
No, Radio 6 was a thing before that. What happened was we got invited to play Red Hot Summer as Omni. and through credit due where it's due, through a suggestion by Guido, we had Rod come up and do some songs with us, and it's the conversation about taking that band and adding Carrie and adding Dave Hardy on keys and completely changing the format of the band to the more Motown R&B kind of a style. That was all born from us being invited to play Red Hot Summer as Omni, and we all we liked that idea better. As much as we loved doing, the 90s rock stuff, this was, just from Andy's, perspective. I mean, obviously that's right up Andy's wheelhouse, is all of that, soul and R&B and Motown type stuff. And so it just seemed like a natural transition. And just as musicians, I think we enjoyed it a little bit. It happened very, very naturally. Just kind of, it was one thing led to another kind of a thing.
Yeah, Radio 6 was that was some of the best music to go and hear.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a fun band, and
that's how I met Rod, was auditioning for Radio 6.
Oh, no kidding! You didn't know Rod before then?
No, I met Rod the first time that I was invited in to play guitar with the band.
Wow,
Who
I
was
never
the
knew
lead
that.
singer for that band?
So that was Cam. And oh my gosh,
Camden Scott, right?
Yes, Cam. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Yes,
I haven't heard much
Camden
from him in a
Scott.
while.
Yeah. So I'm so used to calling him Cam.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It
And
was.
then, so did that did that transform into Johnny May or no?
No, that was completely.
No, Johnny May transformed into Radio 6.
Omni. Yeah. No, they were completely unrelated. Radio
Okay.
6 and Johnny May had nothing to do with each other. Johnny May was found out of Omni.
Okay, that would still blow. Okay, that kind of blows my mind a little bit, but that's very cool. And Johnny May was cool too, because there was like, Rod would play the harmonica and
Every once in a while he'd bring in timpani. Timpani, that was the big stand-up drum.
Yeah, it was cool. Lots and lots of fun with that. And then you were and have been and still are every year guitarist in Red Hot Winter. Yeah, and you came back this last March for Red Hot Winter 2022, and it was so good seeing you there.
It was so
of
good
course,
to see you too.
Yeah, and then you're performing, and you guys' Guitar Mageddon is always one of the best parts of Red Hot Winter. It is so cool, and just like everybody just needs to see that. I did video it this year, but it's not like being there and experiencing that. See, we missed one. I think we missed one here. Renegade.
Renegade was that was the first bigger band that I got an opportunity to be a part of. Renegade was, oh gosh, I guess it would have been 2006 maybe when I joined that band. And that was right after.
Doesn't seem that long ago.
I played with like I said, there were a few bands that I tried to get off the ground when I first moved here with nothing really came of it. And I played with an original band called Pariah for a short period of time. And then it was right after that. So I guess it would have had to have been 2006 that I got invited to audition for Renegade. And that was the first band in Champaign that I was a part of that was, kind of on the map, and that, really kind of opened the doors for me to meet a bunch of other musicians. And
oh yeah. And you were with them how long?
very long time. There were a couple of things that came up with like a skate schedule where I needed to take some time off. So I left Renegade, rejoined Renegade a couple of times. But basically I was with those guys from like '06 all the way through like 2013. So like a solid 7 years.
Yeah. Wow, that's a long run. For
Yeah, Ken Stanley was like, he's my boy. I love him so much. And but yeah, he gave a kid a shot. And, I mean, Renegade at that point, I mean, Renegade, you know,
they were
big
big.
band, in the area. And so yeah, I was very, very fortunate to get that gig and met so many great people as a consequence of that. And that was what really got my foot in the door, like the CU music scene, and
That's cool.
kind of,
That's really
kind of
cool.
exposed me, if you will.
Yeah. And that band ended in what year was that? Because we were there at their last hoorah. We hated to see that come to a close. But he's got a new, he's got Smoking Whiskey now.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. And they're
yep,
doing, they're killing. Yeah.
yep, they are. Um, El Guapo. I'll never forget El Guapo because you guys played Van Morrison.
Yeah.
It was so awesome. El Guapo, where did that form and come from?
That was just three guys that liked each other, thinking, hey, maybe we
So
can
did you,
There's
Andy?
me, Jeff, and Andy. Me, Jeff Markland, and Andy Morellian.
El
You
Guapo.
guys still like you'll once in a while you'll go, oh once in a while it'll come up on the feed. El Guapo as such and such. It's like what? What?
El Guapo, I think, means the handsome one.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Well,
and you
appropriate name.
when you got, yeah, that's not, you guys know where that came from, right?
No.
You know the movie The Three Amigos.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, the villain in that film is El Guapo.
Oh,
So that was a joke. So if you look at any of our promotional material, it would usually have a picture of El Guapo from that film. And we
oh,
took a bunch of different sayings from that, like, the whole plethora of song
that's
was kind
right.
of our slogan.
I
And
remember that. Yeah.
that was, a play on one of the lines in the movie. Would you say I have a plethora of pinatas? Oh yes, Guapo, you have a plethora of pinatas. And, anyways, yeah,
See, how clever is
it's a
that?
total goof joke name. We thought it'd be funny, and keep people
Yeah.
guessing.
Yeah. Very clever. And you guys played quite a bit. I mean, in a short period of time, I think you played quite a bit.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. El Guapo was pretty active. Yeah.
yeah, and I loved it. I mean,
Yeah. So I mean, kind of the foundation of that was, Jeff had X Crush and Live Karaoke Band, and Andy and I had a couple of different projects we were doing together. I had a couple of things I was doing independent of that. So did Andy. Like, so El Guapo initially was like, we just liked hanging out, and we just thought, we could do something, interesting and fun. And so there was no real, you know what I mean? It wasn't born out of any kind of like,
yeah,
concept or any like
yeah,
preconceived kind of idea. It was just, hey, we enjoy playing together. Let's do it. And we'll just do it when we can, when we're not busy with our other projects. And it just, throughout the years, we started liking doing it more and more and more. It became much more active, over the last few years, for sure.
see, you never know. You never know what's gonna just boom and what's gonna lay flat. But being able to play music with the people you love has got to be a very incredible feeling.
Yes, that's what it's all about.
Because you guys are like brothers, you're like family. I mean, everybody you've played with, you're close to. Pretty
Oh,
much. I don't know about when you were 14, but
for me, yeah. I mean, for me, relationship always comes first. If you're not, if you can't, it doesn't matter how good you are. If you can't get along with the people you're playing music with, it's not going to work. It's that simple.
Yeah, and I think there's a huge
the
mutual,
relationship has to come first, you know.
yeah. And I think there's a huge mutual respect that goes on with all of you guys in all of these bands that you mentioned. But Jeremy, you're an extremely um, you're so important to me, and I remember beginning CU Bands and Bands in 2012, and just you were kind of, I don't know why, but you were my go-to person, and I could just pour out to you, and I was so appreciated those years of you, giving a shoulder for me to cry on, literally, and just the encouragement that you gave, and helping us build this foundation. And you did a lot of things in the background that people aren't even aware of, but you have
Our
been a big,
logo, our
you've been a
logo, I
big,
think.
The logo, yeah.
yeah, the logo. You created our first logo, which I still use on several different platforms. Uh, but you've always been so important to us, and you've always been supportive to us, and been there to us for us in any way that we've needed you. But especially the fact that your friendship means the world to us, and I've always loved you.
I got you.
Yeah, from the get-go, and still do, and just still, you know, um, I appreciate just so much you're being so candid, and especially in talking about paying your dues. I think that's really important, and I absolutely love what you said, and I hope a lot of people hear this, and catch that. I hope they really, really catch that and understand it. So from here, let's talk about what is, I know you've had a lot of experiences, and I mean a lot of funny experiences, a lot of serious experiences, enjoyable. Um, you went to, where did you go? Denver with the Stephen Rodman music?
Aspen, Colorado.
Yeah, talk about that, and what that was about.
Oh, well, I mean, that that was kind of an anomaly. It was what had happened is, okay, so Steve Rodman he's as you guys know, a diehard fan of both John Denver and Dan Fogelberg. But he has a lot of contacts and connections, that world, that kind of sphere of fan. Like John Denver fans are like it's like it's its own thing. It's like Jimmy
It's its
Buffett,
own entity.
Yeah, I mean, the people that are I mean, they are die hard. And so he knew some people, just through being involved in the scene for a very long time, that were organizing an event to commemorate John Denver in Aspen, which was his hometown for many, many years. And they did a week-long festival over the week of his tragic death. And so Steve kind of handpicked the band that he wanted to accompany him to do these performances over this week-long celebration in Aspen, Colorado, in memoriam of John Denver. And so it just kind of happened. It all just it came together, and it just kind of worked out.
So what was that like? There you are in Denver, and performing for this, and you're playing some John Denver music, I'm assuming.
Pretty much all.
Most
We
of his songs.
put on a 2-hour performance of all of his major songs, and just I think we did 2 or 3 Dan Fogelberg songs, but it was basically a complete full band John Denver set for about 2 hours.
Man, what a great experience.
Oh, it was fantastic. Yeah, I mean, that is such a beautiful area. I don't know if you've been, but
No, but we looked at the pictures. I haven't. Yeah.
it was just profound is the only word I think that even comes close to doing. Just for me, that was the first time that I'd ever seen the Rocky Mountains, and I'm kind of a nature guy.
Yeah.
anyways. And so that, I mean, it really had a big impact on me, that experience. And I mean, doing the shows were great. It was a wonderful thing, but just the
Seeing that,
atmosphere of that, you know, well, that whole week, and just like seeing this huge community of people coming together to celebrate John Denver in his hometown, you know, or what he considered to be his hometown. And with the backdrop of that unbelievably gorgeous, you know, Aspen, like, I mean, it was surreal. It was
do you
surreal. It was,
do you sometimes just think, I can't believe I'm doing this, or I can't
oh,
believe I get to do this?
absolutely, absolutely, yeah. It's a that occurs to me quite often.
So, are you basically full-time musician,
Yeah, yeah,
and you're doing pretty well there in Florida?
yeah, yeah. Everything's going
Just
really
here.
well. I mean, you know, talking about paying dues, you know, it, you know, you move into a new city where, you know, I
They're
know
pretty well
Andy Morelia,
established.
I know, you know, and I know Steve Rodman that lives up in Clearwater, but it's you know, certainly a humbling experience, you know, because it's nobody knows who I am. Well, they do now. They're starting to now,
Yeah,
but you know, I'm just another guy in town, and so you know, I've so again, yeah, I just did the tried and true method, and just went out there and started going to places and meeting people and developing relationships and saying yes a lot, you know, whether I wanted to or not. And, you know, it's kind of getting myself out there, you know, and you meet one right person and that leads to meeting a few more. And next thing you know, you're off and running.
you're off and running. Yeah, but you're
But,
doing the work. You got to do
you
the
know,
work.
if you're, yeah, I mean, you got to make it happen.
So,
But it's, yeah, it's been going well. It's been going really well.
yeah, I mean, you seem to really have launched and doing great there, and you always do great here when you come back home too. And we love seeing you when you come back, and I love your commitment to what you still have going on in Champaign-Urbana. Um, it
Oh,
was a
Champagne,
shame to,
that'll always be home.
yeah.
That'll always be.
We were like, okay, so like Andy went, you went, Sean Farbman went, Shelly Nell moved, and we were just like, what's happening here? Like, stop it. Like, everybody stop it. Like, because these great musicians were all moving away. So you were in Reckless Whiskey as well.
Yes.
And as a matter of fact, was that the band that you were playing in before you left?
That's exactly right. Yeah. I joined Reckless Whiskey in 2019. And
Oh, and then 2020 happened, and
then yeah, so we had, yeah, the first year that we were together, you know, and Reckless Whiskey is, I love those guys with all my heart, you know, and shout out to Wendy and Blake and Josh and Mike. But yeah, everyone involved with that project. They're just some of the coolest people I've ever met.
They're getting quite a few shows right now.
Yeah.
yeah, they're starting to book again.
Yeah.
Um,
They're doing the, I think it's, they're doing the duo thing, right? Just Blake and Josh, from what I've seen.
I think so, yeah.
yeah. You, yeah, you were really good with them too. I mean, that was a fantastic. It still is a great band, but it just shows the versatility of you, because at 14 you're doing metal, you know. And if you look at all these bands and the different type of music they play, you just like boom, you're in there. And Reckless Whiskey is country, so I mean, but you just boom, you're in there, you fit.
I just love music, period. I don't like putting labels on it. You know, if something hits me, if I like something, if something inspires me, I don't care what you call it. I don't care what box you want to put it in. You know, what's important to me is that, you know, there was some kind of connection. There was some kind of an impact that was, you know, um, between what the artist is doing and the way that I received it. And I don't care if it's blues or country or metal or jazz or whatever, you know. What's important to me is that connection and that impact. I'm just a fan and a lover of music first and foremost, you know.
And you're an excellent guitarist. I mean, you kill that guitar. You shred that. You are amazing. We will never forget on your birthday. But on your birthday a
I
few
knew you were
years,
gonna bring that up. I was just waiting for it.
yeah. Oh God, yeah. A few years ago at Boomerangs,
I have
and
photos of that.
Yeah.
it
Oh yeah,
was.
it's
We
it's
have
it's
video. I
there's
have
evidence.
video.
I can't get away from it.
Nope. I have video, and I still, when that comes up on Facebook memory, I'm like, boom, tagging you. I'm like, Jeremy. But what was so impressive, because listen, this was Jeremy's birthday, so he was celebrating hard, and he was still up there playing like crazy. And he kind of lost his balance and his footing, so he falls by the drummer, and he didn't miss a lick. Did not miss one thing in that. The whole during the fall, you're still playing. When you land, you're still playing. It was incredible. It was
Yeah,
one of the best.
I was committed at that point. I was like,
Yeah, it just
uh,
showed.
now, hey, now, most people miss this part of the story. Do you know why I lost my balance?
No.
Well, there's another picture. You'll see our good friend Tom Grassman post from time to time where he's got me picked up by the waist, way up over his head. Does that
Oh
ring a
my
bell?
gosh.
It was
How
right
did
when
I
he
miss that?
It was right when he set me down from that things went south.
But you not missing a
Not to
lick
place
was,
blame, but it's purely my fault.
yeah. But the fact that you just did not miss a lick that entire thing, it was so impressive. I was like, I can't even believe this. So yeah, there's video and proof that definitely occurred, and it was a fantastic moment. I don't know how you felt about it, but to us it was like, oh my God, he's still playing. He didn't even miss.
Yeah, what's that old saying? Some wise man once said, "Once I get started, I get too lazy to stop."
You gotta love musicians. You gotta
Dude,
love
that's
them.
it. Hey, show must go
Show
on,
must
right?
go
Yeah.
on. Exactly. Um, so what is your, you've had so many, I know. So this might be difficult. And if you can answer it, that's great. If you can't, that's great too, because I know that you have had so many. But what do you think is there a moment in your music career that stopped you in your tracks and just took your breath away? And any time that you've performed or any time that you've anything, is there a moment that you remember specifically going, this is everything?
Many.
I knew it.
Many. I'll be perfectly honest. I don't know. I'd be able to pinpoint any particular, event or experience, but I mean, certainly, there's, I don't know. Let's see here, what stands out.
Because
I
you've
tell you,
had a lot.
it's a different. It just depends. There's different experience. Okay, for example, like when I'm standing on stage at a FirstGig event, a final show, and I'm there presenting my band, to the audience, and that experience as a teacher and as a band leader, I'll be honest with you, I don't know of a lot of personal musical experiences I had that I think would top that.
That's what I'm talking about. Just
So
that.
that's so much more satisfying. As much as, I mean, there's been some great moments, I've been really lucky to have, just as a performer, but I don't think anything that I've ever done or will do will quite be on par with that experience, of being in the role of teacher and seeing your students shine, and the pride and the just the satisfaction that comes with that experience. That's tough to beat.
That's really cool. So do you get emotional during that time?
Oh God, yeah.
Because I could tell you kind of like were a little bit just talking about it. So yeah, I would say that that's
Oh yeah,
your,
it gets me for sure. Yeah, that's I'm very very proud of those camps and what that has done, for music in Central Illinois. And yeah,
yeah.
it's just very very proud to be a part of it.
Those kids that come out of that too, um, they're really just, they're so mannerly and so, you know, organized and appreciative and it's so much fun. It really is so much fun to go and hear them, and they appreciate you going and hearing them,
Oh,
so much. Yeah, you guys really, uh, you instill, I think, a lot of quality into them. So
we try to just give them the freedom to do what they do, but we just try to maybe, if anything, guide them, the best that we can to, try to maybe help them find that in themselves. I think that's the most important element of it. It's not, it's much more so it's much more so about learning the lessons of working with other people and how to accomplish a goal together, um, than it is about any individual talent or anything like
yeah,
that.
see, that's fantastic right there. That
But
right
yeah,
there.
so just as far as like a principle, yeah, we certainly try to instill that. I mean, you're you're a family, you're together in this. You're only as strong as
So
everybody.
I know, Jeremy, what do you consider, or what would you consider your greatest mistake? Or do you have no regrets?
Oh, I certainly have regrets, but um, eh, biggest mistake, being afraid to try,
Hmm.
holding myself back from doing something because I was afraid of the outcome,
Yeah.
and not having the courage, just because you don't try, you don't know. And I've learned, I'd like to think I've learned that lesson. I don't let it affect me. But there's been times in my life where maybe I've held myself back, because of fear, uncertainty, or um, but off top of my head, that's first thing that comes to mind.
Well, that's, yeah, that, yeah. Really quick, I don't think we talked about 17 Sisters.
Okay.
That was such a cool band.
Oh, those guys are yeah, it really was. Yeah, another thing, just I've been blessed. I've played with such a
You
eclectic
have. You
eclectic
really
group of
have.
bands, I guess. But in hindsight, it didn't sound like when I was doing it, it didn't seem like it. But looking back, like, man, I've been involved in a lot of different things. But 17 Sisters, they were just some of the most wonderful people I've ever had the pleasure of meeting in my entire life. I mean, just ever. That whole family, the Scarboroughs are just fantastic people, and
Beautiful people.
so it was a great experience. It was. Did some really, like, I remember, I got to go out to Washington D.C. and spend handful of days and play a show out there with that band, and a lot of other things. But I
Oh my
recorded an
gosh.
album. I recorded an album with 17 Sisters,
Yes.
Mark Rubel, at Pogo Studios when it was still there.
Oh my
So
gosh. We're having him on a podcast next week.
that's what I
Yeah,
thought.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Pogo
and that, I
Studios.
mean, that itself, I mean, that experience recording that album with Paul is a huge, something I feel very blessed to have had that experience. I mean, Paul's, yeah.
Was it
So,
you? Was it you that said you were doing some recording with Mark and he said something like he saw something and said, "You didn't really like that, did you?" And you re-recorded it. Was that you?
Say that one more time. I want to make
He,
sure I heard.
well, you recorded something and there was something he observed and he said, "You didn't really like that, did you?" And you
Ah,
re-recorded it.
so okay. Well, I think you're talking about this. So he had, yeah, this is a great moment. Mark, of course, is, he's a brilliant guy, just brilliant guy. Um, but he had suggested there was this one song. I believe it was, yeah, it was Try to Catch Me Now, or Just Catch Me Now, I think is maybe the title. But it's on the Before the World Ends album that we released. And he had suggested that I play. He had this tiny little pig nose amplifier. This thing's like the size of a, it's just tiny little,
Yeah.
amp. And that was, again, one of those experiences where, don't know what you don't know, until you do. And he's like, you got to play this amp. It's going to be great with this song. So we're going to take this guitar tone. We're going to take this guitar tone. And I remember plugging into it and playing through the lines like, this is the worst sounding I have ever heard in my life. Like, I was just appalled, I was just like, this is awful. I was like, that's great, And then of course, we get done doing, a bunch of takes, and we go back into the control room, and he starts mixing this, and it's very abrasive. But when you couple it, with a couple other, guitar takes, bam! I mean, it just, of course, he was right, and it just made that guitar part just totally pop, and that was a big lesson I learned, from Mr. Rubel.
What a great story!
That's the only thing. That's got to be what you're talking about, Zach.
I think so. Yeah.
How did you know about that, Zach?
I think Jeremy told me about it once, I think.
Oh, that's funny. That is funny, Jeremy. That was pretty good. We'd love to have you back sometime after your probably maybe 6 months or something. But real quick before I let you go, I know that you've written music. You've written your own songs. Sure. Have you ever recorded your own music?
So, well, yeah, with various projects, throughout the years. I've never released an album of, Jeremy Harper, songs per se, but I've written a lot of music that I've released with different projects throughout the years.
Huh. Because I would love to hear something you've done. So if you ever, find something or whatever, send it to me.
You bet.
I would absolutely love that. And I'm thinking you need to get Jeremy Harper t-shirts.
Well,
I was thinking that today when I was going through my t-shirts, and
Jeremy Harper guitar picks.
Yeah, Jeremy Harper, you need to get something. Jeremy Harper something, t-shirts, guitar picks.
I need to up my swag game. I know.
You need to, yes, you do. And because we would buy them, no doubt about it. You definitely need that. And then, are you playing acoustic mostly in Florida?
At this point, I've got 2 or 3 bands that I'm actually playing with at this point too.
Oh wow!
But I'm doing as like in a fill-in capacity. But there's a couple there's one in particular that I think is probably going to end up being a more full-time thing that I really, really excited about. I don't want to say much more about it.
Yeah.
But for most of the stuff that I'm doing right now is acoustic, solo, duo type stuff.
Well, that's great. That's good to hear.
Yeah, and just again, like I'm the new kid in town, so I'm just still kind of getting out there and opening up doors, and
All right. Well, it's been so fantastic. Thank you for being on our podcast. It's been most enjoyable talking with you and catching up with you. And with that, we'll bid you a farewell. Good night, and we'll see you here.
Thank you.
We'll see you here in June. Right?
Sounds good, guys. It was so good to see you both. Thank you very much.
Yeah.